Hey guys, my name is Baxter and this is Layne, and we are now up to our week 10 or update 12 for the reverse dieting series.
You flipped that.
Huh?
It's week 12, update 10.
Same.
No, it's not this. Never mind.
Week 10 on the video series if you're following along on YouTube, as to not get confused. So this has been a really interesting week, or a busy week, hasn't it?
Yeah. A lot of stuff going on.
We had a lot going on this week. So on Wednesday we flew out to California, to San Jose for my powerlifting meet. So obviously a lot of travel going on, which is always something that people are asking about, and struggling to, how do I track when I'm not eating foods from home? How do I track when I'm eating out? So we'll probably talk a little bit about that this week. There's alcohol involved again this week, so I might actually specifically go through tracking of calories with alcohol. But overall, yeah, it's been really positive.
It wasn't that much alcohol, was it?
Oh, I had a lot. How about you?
When did you have a lot?
Like Thursday night, Friday night before the meet, then Sunday we went to a winery.
I didn't realize you had a lot of alcohol the night before the meet.
Okay.
Probably the only reason you slept.
So to summarize where we are at with this reverse diet, I just did some quick calculations, and I've got a bit of an idea about what I want to go up to this week with my numbers. And based off that, I'm now 709 calories up from the starting point. And I weighed in on average this week. Now I do only have 4 data points for this week because we didn't have scales in the hotel room. But my weight came in at 66.9 on average. So again, no weight gain. And
well, there's a little bit since the beginning, but it's like half a kilo.
oh yeah,
so
like
that may just very well go down next week.
500 grams. Well, I'm hoping so, because we'll talk about like the new training programs and what's going to happen this week. So yeah, I mean, we've been doing it really conservatively. You've been following me along on this YouTube series about reverse dieting. Yeah, there's been a lot of kind of up and downs, I guess, as far as traveling and, not being able to track, not having data, but we're still going pretty strong. So let's head over, we'll have a look at the week's tracking, and yeah, we'll discuss everything we've just chatted about. I did actually track every day this week, and I have some accurate numbers and targets, so I can certainly work out my compliance this week. So if we have a look here, starting Tuesday last week, I've just highlighted some of the days that were a little bit out for me. So you can see I had one really high protein day at 188 grams.
No, 243 grams.
Better than the 250 odd I had last week. But my target's 165. So that's a little bit high. That's well over my, the necessary 3 grams that I could probably get up to. So that's kind of high. Also looking at my carbohydrates, I've had a couple of low days here, though my calories still come out balanced, and the reason for that is that these 2 days I was having some alcohol, so I've actually taken my carbohydrates down to accommodate that, and Layne's going to talk to you about that in a second. And I also had a couple of high fat days, and I think based on this information here, it seems as though I'm kind of needing to take up my fats a little bit more. I was really trying to push for carbohydrates, but the more I look at this, the more I see that I probably need to increase my fats. Just my food choices are kind of leaning towards that. So I think this week's increase will come mostly from fats. So yeah, they're my kind of high days. But overall, if we look at my compliance to calories, I'm at 96%, which is a little bit low. But again, keep in mind, I know that the actual calories that I consumed were closer to my targets than this because they don't account for alcohol. I just kind of take off those calories. So I was compliant, and then you can see my protein and my compliance to carbs and fats overall. So it's been a really good, consistent week. Yeah, managing a lot of travel. But I think it's probably fair to say we'll increase this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah? So
you were over your calories too, weren't you? You said you were.
Yeah, I was over in a couple of days, even though it's telling me I was just under. It's because of I was still having some alcohol, which didn't get tracked in there at all.
So your app that you have doesn't track alcohol.
No, it does not track alcohol. I can put the alcohol in. I can list like wine.
But it doesn't take away off your calories.
It'll take off my calories, but it's incorrect.
Not your macros.
Yeah, not my macros. So when I put what I've done here in this little spreadsheet is just put in my macros.
You think trackers would have something with that, but
yeah, well, hopefully we can sort that out one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think this week? So my targets are currently 165 for protein, 215 for carbs. And
so I just want to make sure I'm looking at your calories correctly, because it says you average 2022. Mm-hmm. Is that the actual or is that low?
No, that's not the actual.
Okay.
That is based off my macros
before
just
alcohol.
Here, before alcohol. So I know that I was 100% compliant. In fact, I'd be a little over. I'd probably be around 101%. Yeah.
Okay. So I would say you said you wanted to add more fats. So fats are more calorically dense. My guess, and we'll see how it lines up, I would probably add 3 grams of fat, or 3 to 5 grams of fat, 5 grams of carbs, something like that. Or you could do 5 grams of carbs, 5 grams of fat, and that's
okay. So you're going to say go up to 70 for fats,
yeah,
and
220
then 220 for carbs. So we keeping my protein the same? Because I'm already kind of at the threshold that's necessary.
Yeah, you're already at 2.9 grams.
That's not actually 100 calories yet. Do we want to try and bump it? Because I was aiming for about 100 a week. But
Okay, well then 225. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that.
Cool, that's closer. It's just under 100. So, yeah, again, another conservative jump. I still have really low training volume set for this week, so I think that it probably won't hurt. So I'm only down to do 3 weight training sessions, and then I'll just probably do some walks and some rehab type stuff this week. So that's probably not a bad idea.
When was the last time you were up around 9,000 kilojoules?
Healthy 9,000 kilojoules. Not sick. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Yeah. It's been a while. Yeah.
So 2150. So up by over 700 calories. Maybe 500 grams of weight gain, maybe.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, we've talked about redistribution of muscle and fat and stuff.
Well, that's in your mind.
It's not in my mind.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Not.
You haven't. No. You didn't get significantly stronger and lose muscle. That didn't happen. You may have more muscle in certain places versus others.
Yes, that's why I said redistribution of muscle. And
Well, anyway. But I mean, a lot of people, like I said, would look at it and say, well, there's got to be some accommodation for maybe you're just exercising more, your activity's higher, your non-exercise adaptive thermogenesis is higher. I have noticed you like have a little bit more energy in terms of like not laying down so much or sitting down. But I don't think it would accommodate for 700 calories per day.
Oh, absolutely not.
And your training volumes have gone down.
Last week I did 3 rehab training sessions during the week, and then I had my meet day, and I did 145 minutes of long, slow, steady walking. That was just like our 10-minute walks. We do. So, yeah, like training volume is right down, and that'll be the same again this week. I've got 3 full body sessions programmed, and then I'll do just the regular walks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about alcohol. So a lot of people still want to be able to consume a beverage here or there. I don't think we've actually talked about it in this particular series. What is your recommendation when it comes to alcohol? I certainly have my thoughts, but
usually what I do now, I don't use a tracking app. I just put it in my phone. A lot of people say, well, I had vodka, it doesn't have any carbs. No, but alcohol still has 7 calories per gram. Mm-hmm. That's why you can have something with like a Michelob Ultra that has 2.5 grams of carbs, a gram of protein, and somehow that would be like 12, 13 calories right there. Yeah. But somehow has 100 calories or 95 calories. People say, well, how's that? Well, the alcohol itself is metabolized into acetyl-CoA, which is something that enters the Krebs cycle and can give you energy. Mm-hmm. So you have to account for that. So you can account for it as a carbohydrate or a fat, because metabolically, in terms of what it does to different systems in the body, it kind of acts like a carb. Yeah. But in terms of how it's metabolized and the end product of what it winds up as, it's more like a fat. And the calorie level is more like a fat. Mm-hmm. So what I tell people is track it as a carb or a fat or a combination of both. So if you have a drink that's 100 calories, that could either be 11 grams of fat, which is 99 calories, or it could be 25 grams of carbs, or you could do a combination of the two.
So I can already anticipate the question that's coming here. So on a label, when you're buying an alcohol beverage, for spirits, it usually just says the total standard drinks.
Proof. Yeah.
Right. So when you're looking at spirits, for instance, how would you actually determine what the alcohol amount is in there?
Usually I just go to Google, and you can Google whatever drink you're having and the brand, because they'll probably vary slightly from brand to brand.
Right.
Although mostly dependent on proof, because the proof is the alcohol percentage.
Yeah.
So if it's 80 proof, it's usually 40% alcohol.
Yeah.
I think that's standard for like a vodka or whiskey or something like that.
Yeah.
So, you can actually figure it out. So like if an ounce and a half is a typical shot, that's 42 grams. If it's 40% alcohol, that's going to be...
So what are you typing in here?
I'm just figuring it out off the cuff.
Okay.
That's 16.8 grams of alcohol times 7. That's 117 calories, right? So, I would just look it up. You can figure it out manually if you'd like.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people, like, I know especially in the USA, culture is like big bottles of liquor, and pre-mixed drinks are probably less common, particularly the female type drinks. I know in Australia we have like a whole section denoted just to pre-made drinks that are already done.
We're some hard motherfuckers over here.
Yeah, I've just noticed that the trend here is like drinking spirits, well, not out of the bottle, but like you buy a bottle of alcohol and then you buy your own mixer drink. So yeah, I just think some people find it difficult to actually work out what's in a standard beverage.
Well, again, if you go like even like if I have a craft beer or something, as long as it's not a local thing.
What is listed on a craft beer? Like I don't drink beer.
Well, they aren't usually listed. A lot of beers, you won't have the calories listed. Some you will, like the major brands you will.
Yeah.
But if you get like a local craft beer, you might not know. Usually, if you search it online, you can find it. Now, if it's completely local, like it's a restaurant, brew, or something like that, what I would do is just find out, okay, well, I had...
What's it most similar to? Yeah.
Right, so like I had an IPA with this much alcohol. Well, go look at some of the popular IPAs with that much alcohol, and it'll probably give you an idea of what... I hate IPA, but it'll probably give you an idea of what is close. Yeah. Or if you had a porterhouse, or if you... Not a porter. Porterhouse is a steak. Porter with a porterhouse steak. Yeah. Or if you had a lager or an ale or whatever it is, you just go try and find out, because they will have to list what the percentage of alcohol is. That is by law, they have to list that.
Yeah.
So if you go, you search that, you'll find the calories.
Yeah, so on some labels, if you're lucky, it will actually specify the total calories. They'll still list the macros on there for you. And they might put down the carbohydrate content, particularly if it is like a pre-mixed drink for like a girly drink. So it might have 20 grams of carbs in there. But if you went 20 grams times 4 calories, it's actually still not going to add up to the amount of calories that are listed. So the remaining is actually where your alcohol is coming in. So you need to account for that too. So it's pretty easy. You can actually head to my website. I have some information on there where you can actually see some examples and actually calculate how to take off carbs and fats from your daily intakes if you plan on having a drink or two. What was the other thing? Eating out. So a lot of people travel for work, and especially if they're new to flexible dieting, they seem to have a really difficult time, knowing how to track. And a lot of the time, what I find is that they go into this fuck it mode, where if they're not sure, they just decide, I'm just not going to track at all, and then they end up going way over, and then there's the feelings of anxiety, guilt, this all kind of starts to compile, and then that rolls on to the next day, and then before you know it, they're reporting back to me saying, I actually didn't track this week because I was away for 4 days. Like, yeah.
And I had a guy this past week who was like, hey, what do you think about a cheat day, or you're not tracking for a few days? And I always thought, hey, that's fine. You can not track for a few days, but if you're wanting me to tell you, hey, it's okay, yeah, you can do that. You won't gain any body fat, or it won't impede your progress. Well, no, I'm not going to tell you that. But everything is a choice, and I think what people look for is someone to validate the decision they want to make, rather than looking what the pluses and minuses are. Everything is a choice. So if you're not going to track because you're going to a wedding and you just want to enjoy yourself or something like that, hey, that's fine. But just understand that if you're not mindful about what you eat, you may wake up a kilo or two heavier, you know. So don't then bitch about that. Because you're not going to get sympathy from us.
So I think a lot of the time people are just wanting to know like what is a good strategy. So I would say before you do anything in the day as far as eating goes, look at what your macros are. So if you might have had 2 meals during the morning and you might not have tracked. I assume you're probably going to start tracking at some point when you have a free moment. But before you sit down to maybe your 3rd or 4th meal, make sure you actually look at what your macros are before you go in and just eat blindly. I think that would be a really naive way to do things if you're just kind of eating and hoping that you're going to come somewhere near your target.
Well, most people, if you've been doing this a long time, most people have certain habits. Like I'm able to self-regulate because I know what I eat.
Yeah, you've been doing this for such a long time.
And so, like, I know that if I have something higher carb early in the day, I'm going to have to go lower carb later in the day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, it's all self-regulation. But, again, you're just being honest with yourself about what your goals are.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things that I really like that Les Brown says is that if you want to find out if somebody really wants something, watch their actions.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys and a lot of clients I've had say they really want something. I had a guy who was competing in bodybuilding who said he wanted to turn pro. And every week I'm telling him, your actions are not in line with what it takes to turn pro.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. You've got kids. Things are stressful. You're running on low time. Guess what? That's fucking everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm being a savage today. That's everybody. Everybody's busy. It's not an excuse. If you want something, you have to put more effort into it. And so that may mean, hey, I've got to be mindful while I'm going to this wedding. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, I know I'm going on vacation, but I've still got to think about this. Mm-hmm. But if this is not the most important thing in the world to you, if it's just a hobby or you just want to lose a few pounds, then yeah, sure, of course it's fine if you don't track for a few days. Mm-hmm. But is it going to negatively impede your progress? Probably. Mm-hmm. So just having that honest conversation with yourself and saying, okay, do I want this more than I want to get to my physique and health goals?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then that's fine. But if the answer is no, then don't do it. It's simple. Mm-hmm. Simple.
But then don't be upset about the negative consequence.
Well, the fact of the matter is, kiddies, you're not going to get everything you want in life.
I know.
Sorry.
I think a big part of the problem is I think that a lot of people just think there is some kind of magic that goes on. A lot of the time it comes down to just being consistent, like who is actually as close to their targets as possible, as much as they can. Yeah,
I had a guy who like literally would like want to starve himself during the week so he could fit his cheat day in on the weekend. Mm. And I'm like, why are you doing this? This is dumb. This is like basically you're trying to validate poor behavior. Mm. You're like trying to create your diet around your bad behavior. Mm. You know, because his cheat days were just like 4,000 or 5,000 calories.
Well, and that was really important to him, was it? To have those cheat days.
I
would
think
rather have a little bit of everything every day. Like to me, that's more satisfying than like saving up and having something.
Well, it's just more so that the fact that by the end he couldn't get his calories during the week low enough to offset what he was doing. Because guess what? The lower he got his calories during the week, the hungrier he was, and the more he binged on the weekend.
Absolutely, that's the thing.
Yeah, just being honest with yourself and having that conversation, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that in terms of what's important to them. What is the most important thing to me? What's next most important? Because I'll tell you what, whatever is the priority in your life, your actions will sort out what you really think is your priority. You may say one thing, but your actions will sort out where your priorities are. So think about what your actions have been over the last few months and ask yourself, what actually are my priorities in life? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just to wrap up that kind of topic about tracking real quick, because I know I had a few people asking and I wanted to kind of answer that.
Oh, and instead of me ripping everybody?
No, that's okay. You can rip. That's fine.
I think so. So the first thing is, if you're eating out at like a chain restaurant, the macros are going to be online. Now, are they going to be completely accurate? No, but it's going to get you close enough.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people say, hey, I went to a place, it's a local place, they don't have the macros listed. Okay, well, let's say you went and you had like a thin crust pizza or something like that. Mm-hmm. Go online and just look up thin crust pizza. Mm-hmm. And you know what? You're going to get a few different entries or whatever. Pick one and go with it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's still gonna be
I'm
better
a
than
big
not tracking.
advocate of just take a look at what you're actually eating. What do you see? So
Oh, break it down into components.
yeah, like if you're eating, I think most people struggle the most with mixed meals or foods that they don't know. Firstly, I think it's a very silly idea to eat something that you don't even know what it is. So you can get around that. There's waitresses, like waiters, you can go and ask somebody like what is in this. Like usually like if they're working at the restaurant, they probably have a pretty good idea about what's going into these foods if it's not already descripted in the menu. So ask what's in it. If it is a mixed meal, kind of look at what you're eating and break it down into its, constituents. So, okay, I can see some pasta. I can see some protein sauce. I can see some veggies. Then take a look at your sauce. Is it a dressing that you know what it is? Can you see oil in it? Think about what's actually, making up this dish. And I think that's where cooking and practicing these kind of things in the home make it a lot easier. I know that's just trial and error is how I have learned over the years, eating in different cultures and trying to make these things.
If you track, you start to get a sense for what's in food when you make your own foods.
Yeah.
So yes, so one way is to search out a food and try to find like something online. The other way is, like you said, break it down into components. Oh, well, this looks like it was about this much rice, about this much chicken.
Yeah.
There was probably some oil in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 40 grams of protein, 70 grams of carbohydrate, and 24 grams of fat, just based on what I think.
Yeah,
Are you going to be completely dead on? No, but it's going to be better than just not tracking.
That's right. Like I was having this conversation.
And if you're worried, overestimate by 10%.
Yeah, take a little higher than you think.
Yeah.
Compared to what you're used to eating at home, think about the volumes. Like if it's a liquid product and you don't really know what it is, or think about something else that you have that's similar at home and just guess. That's kind of how we do it, and I think you just get better and more experienced as you go. So
yes, but this is another point to bring up is that 2 weeks out from a national show, probably not the time to be going out to eat.
Exactly.
We're about balance and those sorts of things, but the thing about balance is you are never going to be completely balanced during your life. Your life is always going to sway being unbalanced at different time points. So at times I was unbalanced towards bodybuilding. At times I was unbalanced towards school. At times I was unbalanced towards a relationship. At times I was unbalanced towards my kids. It switches depending on what needs your attention. But if you are trying to get to a physique, diet, competition goal, you're going to be unbalanced towards that. So that means making certain sacrifices of what you do. And again, I've had people who go out to eat 2 weeks before a show and then they wonder why their weight fluctuates. And it's like, well, because you weren't controlling for those variables.
Yeah. Just finally, a lot of people that start flexible dieting, they kind of get to a point where, and I've had this myself, it's like, I just wish I didn't have to track. Now, unfortunately...
Stop being a pussy.
Yes. I get this, and I'm sure, have you not had a point in time where you're just like, I wish I just didn't track? I guess we make that choice if we want to or not.
Not really. It just doesn't... For me, it's not that big of a mental stress. I've had days where I don't. I've had days where I didn't track, but it wasn't because I was sick of tracking. It was because I was so stressed out that I just didn't have the mental capacity for it.
Right.
Which is fine. That's fine. That's but if I had put on extra body fat or lost some muscle, then that's what I'm trading for, that extra mental capacity to go deal with something else.
Right.
So it's always a choice. I get when people say, I have kids, I had this thing happen, I had that thing happen. Totally understandable. I'm not a robot. Everybody's human. But just being honest with yourself about what your priority is at that time. If you just had, something terrible happen in your family and it's really stressing you out, well, maybe it's not the best time to do a show. You had to make that decision last year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, the world imploded, and then I decided it probably wasn't a good time.
Yeah, I mean, you decided my priority is trying to support me, and then just keep us afloat.
Yeah.
And so you made the decision not to do a competition, because again, everything pulls from everything. I realize we kind of go off on a tangent a little bit, but as far as oh, I don't feel like tracking this and that. That's fine, but then just be honest about that. That's not the most important thing to you right now.
Yeah, but also a point I would like to make is that a lot of people that are finding themselves in this position, it's probably because there is so much more effort required when you're on low calories. Now, if you've just come off a dieting phase where you're at the rock bottom, you're not really going to be going any lower with your calories. Of course, it's probably a little bit more difficult because you have to constantly think and make sure that what you're eating isn't going to send you flying over your target. So that's the price that you pay for wanting to diet. There's going to be a point where it's really difficult, and you're going to have to track for accuracy because you can't just eat ad libitum. So if you're wanting to get around that, reverse diet, and you're going to have to be consistent with your reverse diet too, and those macros. If your goal is to get to a point where your calories are higher and you're maintaining the weight that you're comfortable with, that's just how it is. So until you have that flexibility and you've been able to increase your calories up a little higher, you're going to have to track if you want to maintain the physique that you've built or you're working on building. So yeah, that's where I probably will I'll call it that. That was the last thing that I just wanted to touch on because it comes up every now and then with clients, and yeah.
Take home story is everything's a choice. What are your actions actually reflect your real priorities versus what you say, and be honest with yourself about what your goals are and what is your priority. So don't say you don't have time, say it's not a priority. Thanks, guys.
Finding people, listen up. It's never too late to change your